Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. Sean on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what to do, everybody? It's your boy John Altidor with Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Back at you with another one. My boys Vlad, Barry, and today we got a very special guest in the building. Columnist, Patriots analyst, editor, and owner of the Boston Sports Journal, Greg Bedard, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for coming on, man. I think you, for sure. I think you were explaining to these guys, you know, your change of look. I went on to look at the podcast on YouTube, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? You know, and then I'm like, oh, the voice. You know, the voice. I'm like, dude, that's freaking Greg Bedard. How you doing, man? How's everything?
Good. Yeah, I'm down 100 pounds from about this time last year. So life is good. Not as many aches and pains. A lot more energy. A lot better sleep. Hopefully I'm not as aggravated in week 6 of the NFL season as I normally am, talking to Felger and Maz. But you never know. Those guys bring out the worst in me. So
Felger definitely does, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does. He loves the push buttons, and you know, he definitely does.
Those guys, I have a hard time sometimes. I'm like, do these guys actually like Boston sports, or these guys are like hired just to like talk trash about the games?
Yeah, I mean, look, their ratings say that people you want as a whether it's you're a writer or a talk show radio host, you want people to react. And if everybody loves you, that's a problem. If everybody hates you, that's a problem. If you get a mix and people just need to, the most important thing is people need to. You want them to say, I need to hear what they say after that game, or I need to read what Bedard says about the Patriots after this game. I mean, when you can do that, then that's the whole key to the thing, and hopefully over a 20-year career, I've earned that as well. Yeah,
they certainly do a good job because we all still listen to them regardless of what the heck they're talking about.
Yep.
You know, also, man. I think you got the Patriots fans in a frenzy, Greg. You know, I go online and everything I'm seeing is like, oh man, the team's not ready. It's the worst it's looked in the last 20 years. And I'm like, dude, you're watching Greg Bedard, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I just try to tell the truth. I mean, I didn't grow up. The Patriots were not, even though I'm from Massachusetts, the Patriots were not my favorite team growing up. I actually grew up a Dolphins fan. Of course, that seems like a lifetime ago because since I started covering the league about 2001, and I covered the Dolphins, like I was no longer a fan, like the day I started covering the team. And so, you know, I just try to give people the truth, you know, and I don't try to sugarcoat it. I don't want to lie to people because, you know, I don't think that's fair either. So what I try to do is give them my best guess or what my best assessment of where the team is. And that Monday practice a week ago today was the worst offensive practice I've ever seen covering an NFL team. I mean, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't run block. They couldn't pass block. What that means the next day, what that means this week or for this season, I have no idea. All I can tell you is that's exactly where they were. You know, they definitely did some things much differently in the preseason game that allowed them to actually look like a functioning unit, including basically getting rid of the ball as soon as possible, going to shotgun, running a couple simple plays. They look like a team that was really mindful of, hey, let's just run a few basic plays and just try to get out of here intact, and that's sort of what they did. I mean, you know, to this point, we'll get a better gauge tomorrow. The Carolina Panthers are coming to town for 2 joint practices the next 2 days. Today, the Patriots had practice, but they really didn't do much. It was kind of a nothing burger practice, typical before a big joint practice. They were in shells and shorts and, running around. It was basically like flag football, touch football. So it's hard to tell anything. We'll see if they're better against the Panthers, but there's no question. I mean, this is an absolute fact. The Patriots offense has basically been a train wreck in training camp so far. I have no idea what that means for the season, but all I can tell you is through 2 weeks, they're a train wreck. And, train wrecks get better. They get cleaned up. We'll see about the Patriots.
Yeah, I think we appreciate the honesty. I think we're realists here. And, and one thing, you don't want to be surprised once the season comes. It's like, okay, we've been getting the reports. The next couple of days they'll be having joint practices, like you said, with the Panthers. Anything you're looking for specifically?
Really the offense. I want to see, because they haven't, the starters. So they practiced a week ago in full pads, fully competitive. The next day was full pads, but not as competitive. And it was, basically they went back to basics, sort of, just trying to do the basics and get that under control. And so those guys haven't done anything since then. They didn't play in the game. They didn't practice all weekend. So they didn't do much today. So really tomorrow, it's 8 days since the first team offense has really had to execute at a competitive, fast-paced level. So I just want to see where they are. I want to see what plays are they running. Are they still trying to do this outside zone running scheme? Or have they junked it all together and said, you know what, now's not the time? When it comes to joint practices, I don't think Matt Rule, being a younger coach, they usually sort of bend the knee to Belichick, and whatever Belichick wants to do, they'll do. So that means I don't think the Panthers are going to come in here and run a whole bunch of, different stuff. The Panthers do have some talented guys on their team that you want to see how the Patriots do against, like, Brian Burns and, Shaq Thompson and, some of their guys in the backfield. J.C. Horn, the cornerback, I'm interested to see how he looks in his second season. And then offensively, of course, you're dealing with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and, of course, Christian McCaffrey and the two Carolina quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, who are really, they're both trying to win a job, so they're going to put their best foot forward. So, it should be good competition. I just want to see where the Patriots starters are offensively, and this will give us a little better gauge also on where the Patriots are defensively. It's been hard to tell because the offense has been so bad. Is that because the offense is bad, or is the defense like the 85 Bears? I don't know, but we'll have a better gauge against the Panthers because it's the first time we're going to see them do anything against an opponent.
And why do you think the offense looks so bad? Do you think it's because they're trying to install this new offense with these new offensive coaches in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge? Or what is it?
I think it's a combination of everything, but I think the crux of the issue is the Patriots have two people in the most powerful positions on offense: Matt Patricia, former defensive coordinator; Joe Judge, former special teams coordinator / quarterback, and now he's a quarterback's coach. Those guys are basically, the offense runs through them, and they have no experience doing it. They don't know what anything's supposed to look like. And at the end of the day, they're two coaches who Matt Patricia is directing the offensive line and the offense. Joe Judge is coaching the quarterbacks. They have virtually no experience doing that, and the players are supposed to follow them, and I'm not sure how much faith the players have in them. And also, this element of the outside zone running scheme, there are certain reasons to do it, and it's been successful in a lot of places. And very early for coaching staffs, like we saw, Zach Taylor with the Bengals or Matt LaFleur with the Packers. Of course, Sean McVay with the Rams, Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta, and then with the 49ers. But all those guys have been in the system for years. They know how to install it. They know what it looks like. They know how to teach it. And the Patriots are trying to do this with none of those things. So I think it's a combination of inexperienced coaches who the players are not sure whether they should have faith in, and a scheme where the coaches aren't that familiar with it.
Hey, Greg, I wanted to ask you, those are certainly great points there, and it just has me thinking, why didn't Bill bring somebody more experienced to, run the offense, like an actual offensive coordinator, or at least someone that, could actually be, good teach, what I'm saying, the offense, and that would certainly, that would feel much better about than, Patricia and Joe Judge, who really don't know how to run an offense or coach an offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, just think about, you guys, whether it's in your job or, you guys working for media outlets or whatever, like, when you go and work for somebody, you want to work for somebody who has more experience than you, who's been through it before, who can tell you exactly, what you should be doing. And, I think some of these players are having a tough time for this. I mean, I know they're saying the right things at the podium and things like that, but I don't really believe a lot of that stuff at all. I mean, I don't really listen to players and coaches at podiums because they're there for a reason. They're there to make themselves and the team sound as good as possible. And I just think that, take Mac Jones, for example. I mean, he came in last year as a rookie, and he had Josh McDaniels as his personal, basically, quarterback coach / offensive coordinator. The guy's been doing it for 20 years, has been highly successful, worked with side by side with Tom Brady. So if you're Mac Jones, you automatically know, all right, well, this is the guy that taught Tom Brady and saw things through Tom Brady's eyes and saw what Brady did. So he's an expert on what he's telling me. When he tells me to do something, he's either told Tom Brady that or learned it or something like that. And now he's working with Joe Judge, who last had anything to do with the quarterback position when he was like scout team quarterback / holder at Mississippi State. And so, I mean, if you're Mac Jones, you're just like, you're going from a doctorate level education at quarterback to now, I don't know, community college education, like something along those lines.
Jeez.
And I think that explains it very well. During the draft, Belichick had a strange pick in Cole Strange, and I just wanted to ask you what did you think of him playing against the Giants last week, and what have you seen in training camp from Cole Strange?
Yeah, I actually just broke down a little bit of film for him for BostonSportsJournal.com. I thought he was good overall. He did have one pass block that he completely whiffed on. Luckily, James Ferentz, the center, was right there to clean it up for him, or else it could have been really ugly. His first couple weeks of training camp, I would say, have been underwhelming. Certainly had his good moments, had some really rough practices. I mean, he's going up against big, experienced defensive tackles like Lawrence Guy and, Christian Barmore's in his second year, but he's a tremendous player. Devon Godchow, Carl Davis. I mean, these are guys who are good players in this league. And probably, watching Cole Strange on film, whether it was at UT Chattanooga or at the Senior Bowl, you could see certain parts of his game where you're just like, okay, this kid has a chance to be special. And he does, because you watch him, he runs like a linebacker, like in an offensive lineman's body. Now, so he gets down to the second level, gets down the field. I mean, he has a chance to be elite on that level. And like guys who sort of stand out, Alex Mack, who just retired, I think, longtime Falcons center, did a tremendous job at that. He sort of comes to mind when watching Cole Strange. But the problem for Cole Strange right now is he's going from UT Chattanooga and that level of ball to the NFL, and he's going to be a day one starter. So there's no real ramp-up period for him other than training camp, and I'm glad he played against the Giants. He was really the only offensive starter that did. And also, while he's like 6'4", he's like 310 pounds. He's got a strong upper body. You wonder if he has the strength in the lower body right now. Normally, you don't see gains as far as strength for, young NFL players until their second year, because really they go from their college season to prepping for the draft. So they're working out a lot. So they don't have time just to spend, hey, I'm a pro now. Now I can just, squat and deadlift all off season to get ready. So we'll see that from Cole after this year. But I just wonder, as a rookie, does he have the playing strength in his lower body to anchor against the bigger, stronger guys in the National Football League, including he'll see a lot of good ones in the division, with the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills. Can he do that? But I will say he had a couple plays that really pleasantly surprised me against the Giants, where he picked up that the Giants were trying a little tackle end stunt, and he was looking for the looper coming around, where you rarely see a rookie playing in his first NFL game look for a play like that. So you combine some of his play with that alertness, and you're like, oh, okay, there's something there. It's just, I think that in my mind, there's no question he's going to be an excellent player in this league, whether it's a guard or a center. I think he has a chance to be a really good center. It's just a question of when he's going to get there as far as strength and becoming an all-around player.
Yeah. From the Giants game, I think everybody that's been watching the Patriots practices reported that there was none of the plays they've been practicing in training camp that happened during the game. Does that concern you, or do you think that this game, they should have at least started, putting that stuff on tape, in the first preseason game?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'll put it this way, John. It's not a good sign that they decided not to run any of that stuff, and they also basically sat all the starters. I mean, because, when you think about it, when they go out there to practice tomorrow in full pads against the Panthers, for the starters, they've only had one full speed padded practice in 11 days until tomorrow. And so you need more work than that. And ideally, I bet you if all things being equal, the starters would have played a series or two against the Giants as sort of their full speed padded work in that span. But I think Monday's practice was so bad that I think it made the coaches reassess, all right, what are we going to do? What are we going to run? And I think they just said, look, we're not ready. Our guys are not ready to go full speed. And so let's sit all of them. And then with the guys that do play, let's run a few simple plays, some of our old school bread and butter plays that we know that we can execute at a high level. And let's just try to do that. And I think that's exactly what they did in that game. And to me, it's not a good sign. I mean, I think, you look at this past weekend, I mean, I see Patrick Mahomes out there and he's getting drilled on a pass. And, I think just about every other starter, I mean, outside of like Aaron Rodgers or what have you, or Tom Brady, played in the league. But if you're talking about second-year quarterbacks, I mean, I think all of them played this weekend, and that would have been ideal. I think the Patriots were spooked by what's happened, and I think it's not a great sign. I'm not saying it's a bad sign that they had to push things back a week, but we'll see how things go this week against the Panthers.
I went to the game last week, and I was hoping to at least see Mac throw the ball a couple of times. Yeah, and not seeing them out there, definitely made it. I left at halftime, I guess. Yeah. But what do you? I'm pretty sure the starters are going to play this game. There's no way that they don't play. I mean, this is the second preseason game. It's really what used to be the third preseason. It's really what becomes the third preseason game where the starters play a lot. What are you looking forward to from Mac, the offense, from Strange, from the defense, from the new receivers? What are you looking for?
I would look for the starters to basically play a quarter, maybe a little bit more, depending on, how many the play distribution that goes on. I have a feeling the Patriots, I think they're going to be pretty conservative on what they do. I don't think we're going to see a lot in the new stuff because I don't think it's nearly ready. I wouldn't be shocked that the Patriots have junked a lot of their new stuff like altogether. And I think what you're going to see is a lot of quick passes, get the ball out of the hands of Mac. I'm hoping to see a few downfield passes because we really don't see them that much in practice. Almost all the stuff is low crossers, quick outs, balls in the flat, just very safe. Try to get it out as quickly as possible. The defense, what do I want to see out of the defense? I think I'm still watching. I think we're pretty much set on the front seven on how that's going to go. It looks like Bentley and McMillan are going to be the starters on the at inside linebacker. We'll see who's sort of in the next wave as far as, packages like, Mac Wilson has flashed at times. He had some issues in coverage last week. The defensive line will be all the same with the same rotation. The starters will be, Dietrich Wise, Lawrence Guy, Devon Godchow, and Matthew Judon. And then when some of the bigger guys come off the field, Josh Uche will probably go in, Anthony Jennings. So that we know. Jabril Peppers looked like he was full go today for the first time in all camp, so he factors in as a sub-package linebacker. But I think the big thing is what's going on at cornerback. For the second straight week, they've, Jalen Mills is your top cornerback. They moved Jonathan Jones to the outside, out of slot. Miles Bryant is your top slot cornerback now. Is that going to hold? Who's next in the pecking order? Because Juwan Williams and Malcolm Butler were not on the practice field together. They weren't out there at all today. Are they injured? Are they about to be cut or traded? There's a cut down tomorrow, Tuesday at 4 p.m. So I think where I'm looking at on defense is what's going on with the cornerbacks, who's playing and who's playing when. And as far as the offense, I just want to see if they can function and what kind of plays they're running.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, one guy that there's been a lot of positive stuff, coming out, the reports about him, and that's, the new receiver, Taekwon Thornton. Everything that's been reported about him, he's catching on quick, and, he's quicker than, most people think. It's not just a straight line speed that he got. But I've also been seeing reports that, he might make Nelson Aguilar, expendable on the team. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, Taekwon's a kid who got off to a slow start in camp, and really the first couple of days you're just like, and you look at the size. I mean, the kid is skinny as hell. I mean, he looks like Chris Rock playing receiver out there. I mean, you're really like, wait a minute, this kid's going to be an NFL kid. But I've seen plenty of stringy, skinny guys that are very strong. And he seems to be one of those guys. Since then, he's really come on. Every day, it seems like Taekwon gets a little bit better. He is not just a one-trick pony going down the field. He can run just about a full route tree at this point. He catches the ball well with his hands. Certainly has a speed element. I would say his route running has been the most surprising part of his game so far. He did well with the touchdown in the preseason game, sort of, keeping a play alive when Hoyer was scrambling a little bit. So that was good to see from the young kid. As far as his impact on the depth chart, I mean, look, even before sort of Taekwon, sort of popped here, he was going to be on the roster anyways. So, he's not pushing anybody off the roster. But if you want, I mean, if you say, all right, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Taekwon, that's 4. And, usually the Patriots keep 4 or 5 like real receivers. I'm not counting Matthew Slater.
Yeah.
If you want to keep like a Trey Nixon or a Christian Wilkerson, now you're like, all right, well, somebody needs to go. And if Taekwon keeps developing, he basically makes Nelson Aguilar redundant. They're very much the same players. They have inside-outside versatility. They have speed. They're lanky receivers, good route runners. Basically, Taekwon makes Aguilar expendable. But the thing is Aguilar's contract is not easy to get rid of. There's a decent cap hit. Someone's gonna have to trade for him. You can't just cut him. And is anybody going to do that at his salary? I mean, if the Patriots do find a taker, they're not going to get very much in compensation. Basically, you're like, we just want you to take the contract. We'll take a 6th-round pick in exchange. We just want to get rid of the contract. So could it happen? Yeah, but we're going to need to see how the next couple weeks go with joint practices and preseason games against the Panthers and the Raiders, where the Patriots we'll get a lot more data on these guys by the end of. We'll see. They play the Raiders, I think, on next Friday. So by the end of that game, we should know where everybody sort of stands.
Awesome. Bear, you got a last question there?
Yes, I do. So I wanted to ask you for that preseason game that they just played against the Giants. Which players impressed you and stood out to you on the Patriots, and then which ones really not so much, didn't really stand out and didn't really play well and underperformed during that preseason game.
Greg, I think that's a 3-up.
Yeah, it is.
Question.
And actually for the
right. It is. Right, facts.
And for the preseason, I separated, since so many players play, I did a separate offense 3 up and 3 down, and defense 3 up and 3 down. So, real quick, going through the offense, I thought Lil Jordan Humphrey had a really good game at receiver. I don't expect him to make the team, but he did a nice job, broke a couple tackles. I thought that was nice. I thought Christian Wilkerson, he's a guy, he's not going to overwhelm you at receiver, but his combination between receiver and special teams play, just a tough guy. I thought you saw the difference between, where Thornton is as a rookie and Wilkerson as more of a seasoned pro. They both got basically the same play from Brian Hoyer on back-to-back plays. And Hoyer underthrew Thornton a little bit, but Thornton didn't fight back for the ball and sort of turtled, in my opinion, which, rookies are going to do. And then Wilkerson had the same play and, fought through contact to come up with the catch. I thought Will Sherman, the offensive guard, who was a late-round pick of the team a couple years ago, did a really nice job in the running game and his opportunities. Down on the offense, I thought, Yadni Kajust got a big opportunity at left tackle with the starters sitting out. And he certainly had a really good camp to this point, and even Belichick said he's had his best camp, which I completely agree with. But with Yadni, you see the physical tools, and you see, say, him in one-on-one blocking drills in camp. He does a really nice job. But his problem is processing at game speed. And there are a couple plays where he just tried too much on a double team and missed his second level block where, he should have known better and executed a little bit better. Bill Murray, offensive guard, he looked like a defensive tackle, which he was until this year, sort of transitioning to guard. And I thought Bailey Zappi, the quarterback, he did a nice job in the second half, much better. They threw a lot of pressure at him, but I thought he was really jittery and all over the place most of the game. I was not a big fan of his game. On defense, 3 up, I thought Anthony Jennings continued his strong camp, generating a lot of pressure. Carl Davis, the defensive tackle, showed how it's done, 2-gapping on the inside, did a great job against the run. Sam Roberts, a late-round pick this year, who hasn't really flashed much in camp, did a really nice job in that game. 3 down to me, probably one of the biggest disappointments in this game, and it sort of continued his camp to this point. Cam McGrone, who the Patriots drafted in the fifth round despite having a torn ACL. They spent a 5th-round pick on him last year. He was hurt. So if he was healthy, you're thinking that's a 2nd or 3rd-round pick. And he basically sat out all last year. He came back. I thought he was terrible in that game. I didn't think he was very good. I thought he was slow, unsure of himself. He's going to have to pick it up quickly if he's going to earn a roster spot on this team. Mac Wilson was a down for me. He did have a couple of plays where he flew to the ball, but he had a couple of really poor plays in coverage, and that's sort of been the big negative on him in his career so far. And I thought Ronnie Perkins, he was a 3rd-round pick last year, basically redshirted the whole year, came back this year. I thought this game continued sort of his non-existent camp. He he flashes once in a while and you see the speed, but he looks undersized, has trouble in the running game, on the edge. A tough debut for him. So those are sort of my 3 ups and 3 downs.
Well, thank you for that breakdown on the 3 up and 3 down, Greg. Definitely appreciate that. That's good stuff.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Greg, I want to say thank you for coming on the show, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on. You know, it's kind of amazing. We're watching you all the time, you know, on TV, on YouTube, and then here you are with us, man. So really appreciating the work you're doing, and keep us updated on these Patriots.
That's for sure, you know, and I'll tell you the truth. I'll keep it 100 all the time. And I got to give a shout out to your boy Barry, because he's been after me for like a year to get on this podcast, and he never stops. The man is an emailing machine. He never stops, and I got to say, persistence must be his middle name. And I gotta give you a hat tip. I give you a 1 up there, Barry, for being persistent. If you weren't, I wouldn't be here. But I was like, this guy's trying his ass off. I gotta honor that and show up one of these times. So appreciate you.
Good job.
Barry's responsible for all our guests, actually. You know, so thank you for that, man. You know, and you have a good night, man.
All right, see you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yep.
Hey, Barry got the shout out, man. There you have it, man. Big shout out to Barry, baby.
That makes me feel great and amazing and feel on cloud 9. So shoot, I can't stop smiling from ear to ear right now. I'm gonna be smiling for a while. So yeah, that was awesome that he, you know, just shouted me out like that. So definitely appreciate
for sure.
coming on.
Yes, sir, man.
After him for a while. So that's facts. That was, you know, that's all facts. But right there, he, like he said, he keeps it real. So he definitely kept it real about that. So luckily, I was finally able to get him to come on the podcast, and I'm certainly glad, you know, that happened, and he was finally able to join us on the podcast today.
Yes, sir. So shout out to Greg Bedard, man. You guys make sure you support him too. He's on YouTube. He's on everything, man. 98.5 Sports Hub. He's on TV. He's on YouTube, breaking down every practice, breaking down every single game, get his analysis on the game. He's a big outlet for the Patriots.
He has his own website too, the Boston Sports.
He's the owner, man. BostonSportsJournal.com.
Make sure you check it out.
Subscribe to that. Check it out, man. You know, he does great work. And also make sure you guys are following us on all platforms too. We're at ProFanSports on everything except for Instagram, and that's at ProFans_sports. You know, we drop every week, you know, content every day on the social media platforms. So make sure you come and rock with us, you know, as soon as you can. And with that said, we'll catch you guys on the next episode, man. We out.
Peace. Have a good one. See y'all next week. And shout out James White. Salute.
Goodbye.
All right. Peace out.